This is Alex with Student Drivers. Welcome to the channel. If you're new, please like and subscribe. Today we're going to talk about the limits of the 4B11T, more specifically the Evo 10 in a mostly stock form. I'm going to talk to you guys about my most recent power numbers that we just got because I was doing some full throttle tuning and we got some good numbers. I'm pretty happy with it. So stay tuned for that. Let's go ahead and get this video started. Yeah. Oh, the GTO. We'll give you some love soon, buddy. See you soon. Come on, let me in, let me in, let me in, let me in. This car is so stupid fast. I don't even know how to... Hello, everyone. Here's my Evo 10. Everybody who's been following the channel knows exactly what's on this 10. But for those who haven't seen it, we got a 6266 ETS turbo kit, stock bottom end and built head with GSC S2 cams. And we run forged fuels for ethanol, and it runs pump gas too, because we have our ethanol with our Innovate ethanol or E85 kit flex fuel. So ultimately, making this video today because I wanted to talk about, let's shut this off, the limits of the car. A lot of people don't understand the limits, what they are, how it can achieve the power numbers that we're hitting for our stock block. And I kind of wanted to just go over that a little bit. Mitsubishi from the factory with these guys put in a type of forged piston, one that doesn't expand or contract with heat as much as like your typical Wiseco piston, which tend to eat a little bit of oil because they need to get some heat in them to expand. These are incredibly strong pistons. They are a little bit more brittle than the Wiseco pistons, but that is because they don't absorb, they don't absorb detonation as well as the stereotypical forged piston. They have a tighter tolerance around the cylinder walls, so you don't have to heat them up to get that full sealing around the cylinder wall. Sorry, I'm just not I can't collect my words very well right now because I've been working all day. But yeah, so ultimately, top end on this car is very good from the factory. It doesn't hurt to throw some GSC S2 cams, valve springs, and retainers after you hit 50,000 miles, just because these cars can rev out really high, and if you get like a normal tune with bolt-ons, you're going to be revving out to 8,000 RPMs, and these springs are a little soft for that. So that would be my suggestion. If you really want to push the limits of the stock block like I am, you are going to need to do valve springs and retainers. Other thing, so the reason why a lot of people are a little bit in disbelief of these cars making the power that they can is because generally people aren't going to be running this big of a turbo. They're going to be running like an 18K or something that spools a little faster. The weak part on this motor is the bottom end. For those of you who don't know, it's pretty common knowledge that these rods, they're not spaghetti rods by any means, but they're kind of a good mid-tier rod. They can only really handle so much torque. Usually the consensus is around 450 wheel torque, and then they'll start to bend or have issues under a sustained amount of abuse. I am pushing it on ethanol to 412 pounds of torque, and it seems to be handling it pretty well. I don't normally run it in the full send mode though. I generally run it on my pump gas tune, which is right around that 480 wheel horsepower range and 320 pounds of torque. So that's my daily mode, but when I go racing, we do throw the full amount of torque at it. But there is a few things with that. In order to actually safely, use these big turbos, you need to make sure it is torque managed, because this turbo all day could make 500 pounds of torque if we went crazy on timing. We also limit the spool as well. It's actually throttle controlled on this car, so instead of going 100% throttle, we are around 80% throttle on full pedal to the floor. Another thing to bear in mind on these cars is the drivetrain, actually. So it's a very common misconception that it's the transfer case on these that are weak. It's actually not. Even the 8s and 9s, they have decent transfer cases. It's just that when you throw so much power at something and you shock it on a launch, even built stuff's gonna break. And even from the factory, I mean, I've somewhat launched this a few times, no problems. The biggest problem is the shock to the rear diff. It's actually on the 10s. They revised a lot of the drive, just everything, actually, pretty much everything. It's a completely different car. It's not an 8 or a 9. And there's going to be the 4G lovers out there that are going to say that the 4B11's crap, or, you know, what, I don't even know what they say, to be honest. I just don't pay attention to them. 4B11 is a fantastic motor. It's actually more efficient. Per bolt-on, it's going to make more power. I mean, bolt-ons on these, just bolt-ons without a turbo or anything, you're getting close to almost 400 wheel horsepower and 360 pounds of torque. The 4B11 is a very efficient motor. It's one of the best flowing heads from the factory of any production vehicle. The heads have been known to flow up to 550, even 600 wheel horsepower. Now, would I do that? No. Really, the limits of this car specifically, is going to be the rear diff, the bottom end of the motor, and for the 08s specifically, they do have a front center diff issue where the diff pins, the metal's too soft, so they tend to fail. So they fixed that in the later models. Fortunately, I got the year that has that problem. So does Gene with his Blue Evo. He's also got that, but I haven't had any issues yet, knock on wood. And I've been throwing 600 wheel horsepower at this car, and I'm not necessarily easy to it. I do push this car pretty hard. But if I was to tell you what your limit of your car would be based off personal experience, without having to do much motor work to it, the only thing really that you're going to need to do is clutch, ACT HD clutch if you're dailying your car. If you decide to go triple or twin, don't daily it because you're going to burn through those clutches. They're designed to slip, so they go out a little faster. But ACT HD clutch, and then GSC S2 cams with valve springs and retainers, and then just slap a big old turbo on it, and there you go. The reason why I went with the 6266 and got rid of my old stock location is because these engines need efficiency. They need airflow. Otherwise, you're just going to end up bottlenecking yourself with the exhaust. That's what I did on my previous setup. I'll show what my dyno numbers look like right now. Now that I've gotten a chance to tune the car, 28 pounds of boost. This car made 603 wheel horsepower. And it's all on the top end, and it still has more to give. Like, I could go further with it, hit around 30 to 33 pounds of boost, and I'd probably make 650 wheel horsepower on this car. Easy. It's the new setup on it is very efficient. Now, that is probably where I'd stop the car. I'm actually stopping it at 603 just because I ran out of injector. So I don't have any, I'd have to switch it out to like 1650s or 2150 injectors, which I might do down the road, but in reality, I think, personally, this is where I'm going to stop the car. Knowing that these cars are not the happiest when they have any kind of detonation, all it could take is really a bad batch of gas or bad batch of E85, and, you know, I could completely blow out a piston. So I would say from personal experience, 400 wheel torque is a very happy place to be, and 600 wheel horsepower is perfect. I enjoy it. It's fast as hell. I think I can hit 10s all day in this car if I really wanted to. I just have to get a little bit more comfortable putting stress on, you know, the components for launching, which I'm warming up to. I'm a little scared on that. Launching is what takes out these drivetrains. So be very careful. But again, very capable motor. I personally would prefer it over a 4G just because you have to do more to make the power I'm making on a 4G. And the Evo 10s from the factory feel more rigid. So ultimately, the point that I was going to make here is the limits really come down to torque. 450 pounds of torque. Do not push it any further than that. These rods won't be happy with it. depending on your tuner, they may push it and you may get lucky, but just as a safe bet, 400 to 425 is kind of where I would stop. Wheel horsepower, you can make all the wheel horsepower that you want. It's the torque that's going to hurt it. Now, have I ever seen a 800 wheel horsepower stock block? Nope. Do I want to see one? Nope. Because that won't last very long, because you're probably at that point making too much torque. The drivetrain, the transmission, the rear end, misconception, these are not weak. These aren't weak. Like, they will make 1,000 wheel horsepower, no problem. They can handle, I think the word is sustained torque. They can handle sustained power. They do not handle shock well. Like a single disc, like sidestepping clutch on this, you're just asking for trouble. And then for the 08s, I believe the 10s had this issue too. Correct me if I'm wrong. 2010 to 2008, those models had the front diff issue where the metal was a little too soft and it eventually just starts to wear away for the diff pins. So maybe something to look into to do a maintenance if you're thinking about it before you really start ripping on it. I haven't done it. I might be playing with fire, I might not be. It's kind of a hit or miss situation. Also, another misconception that people say is you have to delete the exhaust camshaft for MyVec. You do not have to do that. I would say keep both cams in there, especially if you're going with a smaller size turbo. You're just gonna hurt spool time. It's very rare that the cam gear actually cracks. That's something that people will mention up if you look into it. But ultimately, I've been pushing the limits of this car just to see what it could do so I could document it, tell other people about it, and the car has been taking it no problem. And we're not even fully 85. We're like, right now it made 600 wheel horsepower on E60 right now. So E85, I mean, you start losing the knock protection properties after E70, so anything past that's kind of, I guess maybe just keeps the combustion chamber a little cooler. But I'm not pushing enough timing to really worry about that. If you have a built motor now, if you have like E98 or something like that, that's going to help your car combustion chamber, keep the combustion chamber cooler. That is the other limit of this car, is they do tend to run a little hot. They create a lot of back pressure, probably because of the dual MyVec is kind of what my suspicion is, or the exhaust ports need to be ported. It could be those. I honestly have no idea. I can't really think of anything that would cause that. I mean, there's been a few tests with it where they went ahead and tried to throw more fuel in the combustion chamber to cool it down. It still stays pretty hot. They take away timing, still stays pretty hot. I don't know what the issue is that, but the cars take it pretty well. As long as you don't rip the shit out of it all the time, you should be fine. But yeah, just wanted to make this video just so people kind of know. I'm trying to figure out how to do the camera work for my wide open throttle pulls and tuning. I'll be posting more videos on that. I'm going to post a couple pulls that I have done and tuned. So if you're new, please like and subscribe. My name is Alex, and you're watching Student Drivers or Disney Channel, whatever you want to call it. So thanks, guys. Have a great day.